So you may have seen that thumbnail listing which three watches I'm going to be putting side by side together. And you may be asking the question, why have you chosen these three watches to compare against each other? Well, I can tell you is a very good reason. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And there's two questions that I ask myself regularly. I ask what brands are out there that offer incredible value, and I ask myself what brands are out there that offer incredible quality watches. And when I think about these two questions and then I overlay them together, I start thinking about a particular sentence that is often used in videos and in the watch world. And that is the sentence or the term diminishing returns. I think we all are aware that at some point, as you start to spend more and more money on a watch, you start getting less watch for that additional money. There's almost like a graph of money goes up and the quality, and then at some point they meet and they sort of flatten off. The money doesn't flatten off, that keeps going up, but the quality or the increases in quality starts to flatten off. So when I think about this, the diminishing returns, quality of the watch, the money you have to pay to get the watch, I start always thinking about where is that intersection? Where is the intersection where the value for money or the quality of watch increases for that money? Where does that align? And when I think about that, there are three brands that stand out to me that I think really represents this intersection. Tudor, Christopher Ward, and Ginault. And that is why today I want to put these three brands next to each other. Currently in my collection, I've got my favorite Christopher Ward, a watch that I absolutely love. I've got my Tudor Black Bay 58 Blue, an absolutely stunning watch which I really enjoy wearing. And I also have a Ginault, which is a little bit left field compared to the other two brands, but I think it fits perfectly in this intersection, which is why I'm going to flip the camera around right now and try to describe to you and show you why I've picked these three watches. So just keeping in mind when we're comparing or looking at the Christopher Ward, the Ginault and the Tudor, this today is not a side-by-side or a comparison. I'm not trying to convince anybody that they are comparable watches or should be put side-by-side. Today I'm just talking about three brands, three watches that are in my collection that for me represent that intersection between quality and price before we start losing those sort of diminishing returns that I was speaking about. I think we all kind of think about Christopher Ward as a brand as something that does this. You get a lot for your money. Yes, they're not super affordable, but you get a lot for your money. I don't think Ginault is spoken about enough when it comes to this. They are more spoken about as being amazing quality, sort of Rolex homages or alternatives. But when you take away the perspective of the design, this is the category that I think they fit in. The sheer quality and the price are at that intersection. I think Tudor's fairly well known for it as well. When we think about Tudor, when I think about Tudor, when I own my watch, when I wear my watch, when I try on Tudors at the boutiques, I have to always consider and always think about how do these watches sell for these amounts when I go to other boutiques and look at things like Omega or other watches that are more expensive, and I have very similar experiences with. So Tudor definitely, I think, fits this intersection for me. But let's just put into context the prices, because this Christopher Ward, I think they sold for around 1,800 Australian dollars. I'm not going to bother putting conversions up there because that's not really the point of it, but just in context, 1,800, 2,500, 5,000. So that's the other reason why I'm not even putting them side by side, but in their respective price categories, just standout features for me, because I don't think if this watch was incrementally any better at incrementally more expensive that it would be a better watch. I think it's met that threshold, that intersection. I think the Ginault and the Tudor actually somewhat go past that, because for the prices, I think you're getting more for your money than what you would expect, especially when you put it in side by side with perhaps other watches in the same price categories. As I mentioned with the Tudor, I keep thinking that it is nicer than the Omegas that I've tried on, and Tudor is generally cheaper than Omega. Sorry to interrupt the video again. I keep doing this with my videos, and it's because I'm really trying to grow the channel at the moment. This has become such a large part of my life. In fact, it's almost a central part of my life, which is a big surprise to me, but I enjoy it so much. I enjoy the creative process. I enjoy interacting with you guys. And I'm hoping that because I'm putting all this effort in, that you could do some little small favor for me. And that is just hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. Let's get back to this video. And the reason I point to these three watches comes down to three main perspectives. It is feel. When I pick up a watch and I just feel it in my hand, I then put it on my wrist, there is a certain feel about a quality watch, a certain feel that comes when it goes beyond just being a great watch. It's just, you put it on and you go, wow, the Tudor has that wrist feel. It actually has one of the best on-wrist feels of any of the watches that I've ever tried on or had in my collection. And it's a different feel to the Ginault, but it's that same experience of, wow, that feels much nicer than I expected. It is elevated, it is refined, it is comfortable, it has that weight to it. It has that softness of feel, and I think partly the bracelet has a big part to do with that, but it just makes me think, wow, something extra special. And I think that has something to do with the details of the watch, how refined the bracelet has been, how soft the bracelet has been, the intersections between the links, the feeling of the clasp when you put it on. But then it goes further than that when you start to zoom in onto the watch or into the watch, and you see those details and those refinements and things like bezel action that just elevate it further. And I think movement choice and performance is a big part of this idea of this intersection too, because the Tudor, albeit you can't see it, is an in-house caliber chronometer. Now, I actually don't care about in-house calibers. I don't even care about chronometer. I care about a quality movement that is performing well, that I feel that I can trust in and rely on, and that it just feels solid to me. And just because this happens to be an in-house chronometer, well, it ticks those boxes, not because of those two terms. Christopher Ward and the Ginault have done something similar. They're both powered by the Sleater movement, but the Christopher Ward has then set this to chronometer standard. So it is a movement that I'm comfortable with and that I really like, but they've put the extra effort to make it something special. But I don't think any of them have gone through as much detail and thought and effort as Ginault. But then the watchmakers that put these watches together then test them and regulate them over a long period of time and at different positions, making it a beautifully performing movement. But the things that stand out to me most amongst these three watches, and what bring these watches to mind when I think about this idea, is just that sheer wow factor, that feel of enjoyment of holding these watches, owning these watches, and wearing these watches. The money that they cost, for me, justifies these watches and goes far beyond that. I have cheaper watches that I love, but don't have this feel. I have more expensive watches than these that don't give me any more of this feel. Hence why I think these three watches are my pick when I'm trying to figure out where that intersection between quality and price sits. And of course, I'm going to be always on the lookout for other watches that feel like this to me. So please leave a comment below if you think you have another watch or a brand of watches that does this too. And remember, I'm not just thinking about a good quality watch at a price. I'm thinking about that pinnacle crossover, something extra special that fits into a price range that is a little bit scary good. Please let me know. And whilst you think about that, and after you comment, maybe try watching a couple of my other videos next.